How you doing, guys and gals? My name's Doug Wilson, and this is Yellowhawk Customs Outdoors. Yeah, I know, I'm in my room again, right? For some of these knife and sheath videos, I don't have to be outside, right? I'm trying to run a business, right? And it stands to reason that I'm not going to be always out in the woods, right? You know, a lot of guys, in order to just be out in the woods, they'll get in their car with their camera and they'll drive to a park or something like that. I don't think this is any different. You know what I mean? Go to your room, drive to a park. You know, unless I'm on a backpacking trip or I'm out in the bush on a trip, right? I don't see any sense in driving to a park just so there's trees involved. I just don't see the sense in that. I spend a lot of time in the field. So these videos, this is going to be like a client offering, showing you some options, showing you some recent sheath systems that we've built for clients. Like a couple of these sheath systems I'm getting ready to show are going to Turkey, right? To a client there who pretty cool guy. Anyway, I don't like to say too much on the videos about clients because you never know, right? You never know. So if you guys stick around, every time I show these sheaths and knives and different options and stuff like that, it's just a little bit more promotion that it gives the company, a little bit more information that people can garner about what we do. Because we don't only do sheath systems here. I design knives. I got several knives out there being produced by custom knife makers that are doing fairly well, right? Because I don't market things, you know what I mean? I don't do a whole lot of putting it out there and asking, you know, Bark River or LT Wright or anybody else to help me market my knives. I don't do that, right? So, I mean, maybe it would be a good idea for me to do that, but I don't know. I like the knife to stand on its own. Guys get it in their hands and they're like, yeah, this is different. I'm going to show it to somebody else, and they show it to somebody else, and then so on and so on and so on, right? Okay, so you guys stick around. I'm going to show you a few sheath systems that we've built over the last few days, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that introduction. I like that Flaming Hawk. I think John did a great job on that intro, so I use it a lot. I have like 4 different intro outros that I use, but that was my favorite. I think that was really so indicative of, you know, the spirit of Yellowhawk. So anyway, see what we got here. We have a dark timber Bark River Grizzly in cpm3v. Okay, now let me clean the frog lube off of it so you can get a better look at the blade and show you how we don't scratch your blades here. Okay, if we can at all help it. Okay, it's KYDEX, right? But we have a technique of preparing the blades that leaves enough room between the KYDEX and the metal that it kind of slides in, okay? And it doesn't really, you know, I mean, that's loose right there. And the way we do it here, it's like a proprietary method that we use, right? Is that we concentrate on certain areas of the blade, and then once you actually engage the lock, the click, that is when the knife becomes tight, no rattle, no rhythm, no roll, right? That's when it becomes tight. But the in and out thing of it, you know, it's pretty loose. You're not going to scratch your blade. Now, it's KYDEX. Over time, dirt does get into the sheath, right, between the plastic and the metal, and it's the dirt that marks your blade up. It even happens with leather sheaths. It takes a little longer with leather sheaths, but it does happen. I have several leather sheaths with knives in them that have marks on the blade from the leather sheath, right? It just depends on how tight the sheath is, but the knife has to touch the KYDEX going in. It has to, right? You're putting it in the sheath, right? So, but it seats when you actually engage the lock, right? There. That's when it seats, when there's no wiggle, no movement. But as soon as you release the lock on it, right, it's rubbing against the KYDEX, right? Happens with leather too, and it's the dirt that does it, not really the plastic, okay? For the most part, right? So, ready? Okay, so there's that. So, Bark River Dark Timber Production Grizzly, okay? So, in case you guys aren't aware, Pete Kohler decided to go to the production end of things, okay? And by the way, I won't do production stuff with KYDEX sheaths, right? I'm going to stay a one-up, completely custom sheath company, right? I don't like doing even semi-custom stuff, like doing molds and fabricating pieces prior to assembly and stuff. I don't like to do that kind of stuff. Every sheath is 100% handmade for you, according to your specifications and our agreements. So he decided to go production with some of his knives, some of his designs, like the 1911, the Grizzly. Okay, he's putting out a couple of others as we speak. But this is one of the Bark River offerings. This is the Grizzly, right? The production version of the Grizzly. Okay. Now, we do Pete's hand-forged knives still, but he doesn't do a lot of hand-forged stuff, right? They trickle out, right? So they trickle down to here when someone wants KYDEX too, okay? But that's the way I prefer it. I don't want to do the production stuff. I just don't have the resources or the time. I have zillions of other clients that I have to take care of, and I can't really focus on one, particular knife, and put out 300 sheaths in a couple of months. I just can't do it, okay? So I still do his hand-forged stuff, and somebody else does his production stuff, that's right. This knife, this is going to become an iconic design, okay? In 20 years, people are going to look back on this design and say, yeah, the Pete Kohler Grizzly, hell yeah, that's a badass knife. Remember when Bark River, blah, 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 right? That's the way this knife's going to become, okay? That's what's going to happen. Every prediction I've ever made about Peter Kohler has come true, okay? All right? He's a great knife maker, right? I knew he was going places, right, when we first met. So, and here it is, man, the Grizzly. In a production version, not only production, but this one's cpm3v, okay? Now, remember this. When it comes to steel, any steel that you're producing a knife from, right? It's the heat treat and the tempering process that is the soul of that knife. The heat treat and tempering is going to determine how well that steel is going to perform. And every knife maker kind of does it differently, right? Some knife makers are good at heat treats, some are not. The problem is that it's hard to tell when you get the knife in your hand if it's heat treated right or not. Very difficult to tell, unless you stress it some way, right? Things like that. But even with cpm3v, just because the knife says cpm3v doesn't mean the soul of that knife is right. You know what I mean? The heat treat has to be right. Now, I just wanted to bring that to the surface, because a lot of guys don't know that, right? cpm3v, I gotta have it, right? Better make sure that that company that produces that knife heat treats that cpm3v the right way, okay? And there's different ways of doing it, right? But there are general formulas for each steel, and cpm3v has a formula that makes it the best it can be, pretty much across the board type thing, Okay, so this one's cpm3v. You know, that was a smart move, I think, right? Because this is a big knife, and cpm3v works well in bigger knives. Okay, it's a over-the-top, strong, wear-resistant, tough steel, right? It can be hard to sharpen, but if you use the right tools to sharpen it, not that difficult. Watch some of my sharpening videos with a diamond rod and strops. Okay, watch some of those videos. It's pretty easy out in the field to sharpen one of these. Okay, you may disagree with me, and that's okay. Trust me, I've had guys disagree with me before, right? Generally, they come around, right? Because, I don't know, I've been doing it a long time. Okay, so there's the Bark River Grizzly, right? And then the JX3, this is the design between Peter Kohler and Chris Tanner, right? It's kind of a Skinner, that's a Skinner, okay, all day long. That blade is a Skinner, okay? And will it do other things? Sure it will. It's got a 90-degree spine, it'll strike a ferro rod and stuff. But that's a skinning knife, okay? It'll feather stick, it'll do everything you want it to do, but that blade design lends more for skinning than anything else. And slicing as well, right? Like when you're skinning game, you're slicing that hide between the meat and the flesh side of the skin, right? You're slicing it, right? So you need a good belly that, you know, so the point doesn't dig in and go through your hide and ruin it, right? So that's a great little skinning knife, okay? So I just wanted to bring that out because some guys, they buy knives, right? And they think it's going to be good for one thing, but it's really good for another thing. Really good for another thing. And it's only just so-so for what you want it for. You know what I mean? But this is a nice little utility knife for this particular, for the Grizzly, okay? And this is the production version of the JX3. Now, I've done the hand-forged versions. They look a lot like this, but they have hammer marks, and, you know, the handle's a little different. And this one's made by LT Wright, right? And it's a nice little knife. Nice little knife, okay? Perfect size to piggyback onto another knife on a sheath system, okay? Now, that's got great retention, right? You can see it. I mean, this really has awesome retention, right? I mean, that's in there. It's not coming out unless you really yank it out there, okay? So, got a great little click to it. Nice and tight. Now, when it comes to these knives with bellies like this, there's no way around it. The belly has to go through the retention point, so it will rub. So it's starting to rub a mark in it now, okay? And I've probably sheathed and unsheathed this thing 25, 30 times since I've had it, since it's been finished, right? And Zach and I both worked on this system. That we do that a lot because Zach is really good at certain things and I'm really good at certain things, so we collaborate a lot and we come up with a badass sheath system that's made by both of us. We do that a lot. So, all right, so it's kind of wearing a mark there, and that's just the nature of the beast with a knife with a belly. If you want great retention, it just has to be this way. I don't know what other guys would tell you, but that's what I'm going to tell you. But that's the way we do it here. Got to be great retention or it's not going out the door, right? So we've got a piggyback system that can also be taken off, right? There it is. And used as a necker, or you can put a tech lock on it and use it as a belt knife, okay? It doesn't have a 45 degree. I did not do that because the client didn't ask for that to happen, right? But generally, you can put a tech lock on one of my piggyback sheaths, right? And generally, you can use them as neck knives too. Just take it off and do what you need to do with it, okay? So let me take it off. This is primarily a Baldric rig in .095 Coyote Brown, which is thicker than 093. That's what you usually see in the thicker KYDEX. Most guys use 080, okay? Most makers use 080 when they build a sheath, okay? I don't believe that's strong enough, so I go with 093 or thicker, okay? And anybody who watches the channel, I work with these suppliers and I get thicker than 093 in most cases, okay? 095 Coyote Brown KYDEX with multi-cam infused pattern, okay? It's infused into the KYDEX, multi-cam, right? They call it super cam or something like that. It's a trademark thing, but it's basically multi-cam, right? The scorpion type pattern. Although I'm not allowed to say that. It's not scorpion, it's not Cry Precision's pattern, but it's close. It's close. So there it is. I'm going to flip it around. It's got a tabby dangler. It's got a Baldric system. It's got my Sure Up plate on it. This one happens to have a molly lock in the center. He can also put another molly lock on this side too, if he wants to, okay? And he can put a tech lock on there too for pack carry in a different way, right? So basically, here's how it works. If you have PALS webbing, you're going to need a molly lock, okay? Tech locks don't fit through most of the PALS webbing. The mil spec stuff, they won't fit through it, okay? So you need molly locks if you're going to use PALS webbing. If you can use any other type of webbing that's on a backpack, you can use a tech lock. It'll go through the webbing because the spaces are, well, you know how it works, right? It's a no-brainer. Got a Sunto compass on here. A lot of guys love that Sunto compass. I do too. They're great compasses, right? They do a lot that a larger compass will do because it has a rotating bezel, okay? Give you a good look at it. This is the front. Okay, I'm going to turn it around. It's got mil-spec shock cord retention. That's another thing, mil-spec shock cord. There's a lot of junk shock cord out there. Trust me, I've seen it. I've used it, right? When I first started doing the shock cord thing, I wasn't really familiar with it, right? But as I bought new materials and got in contact with different companies, there is mil-spec shock cord out there that is very high quality. Doesn't wear out, you know what I mean? Or wears out a lot, slower. I only use mil-spec stuff. It's like 3 or 4 times more expensive, but trust me, it's worth it, okay? So there's the back of it. Altoids tin assembly. This one does not have a strap on the other side, okay? But it's easy to get the tin out. It's no big deal. The way we do our Altoids tin assemblies, they lock in there. They click in there, so they don't just slide in and it's held by tension. I don't do that, right? If it doesn't lock in there in some way, I won't do it, right? I don't want you losing anything in the field, okay? And I tell you, KYDEX sheaths are notorious, right? If they're not made well, if they're not made correctly, you'll lose your knife, your Altoids tin, you name it, right? Because the things just aren't made correctly, right? So I'm real anal about how these things turn out and how they function for you. So there's the back of it. We even do, cut out portions of the KYDEX to make it a little lighter. Our sheath systems are already light to begin with because we use taco style designs. We don't do pancake styles. I just don't, honestly, I don't believe in them. They're too wide, too bulky, too heavy. And the fact that you can put a whole lot of shit on a pancake sheath doesn't mean crap to me, right? I can put just as much on a taco and make it 25% lighter, okay? So there's that one. Got our Herman Oak 9 to 10 ounce leather loop, right? That we tool and skive and burnish and oil and wax ourselves, right? There's some tooling in there, right? It's got a Celtic design and a hawk and our logo right there. Then on the back, there's a little bit more tooling. Now, you have to ask for the tooling, right? Sometimes I just do it, right? Sometimes Zach just does it. Sometimes we don't. If you ask for it, you're definitely going to get it. Especially your initials. This one doesn't have any initials in it, okay? Client didn't ask for it. So, all right, so there it is. Baldric system works great in horizontal or vertical. Doesn't matter, right? And with our piggyback systems like this, if you want a leg tie down, you don't have to use this loop. You can go right through the underside of the piggyback system and put your webbing through there, and it stays just fine. Okay, I'm not a leg down. I'm not a tie down kind of guy. When I was in SF, I used leg tie downs sometimes, right? Because you're in a tactical situation, right? You're in a hide somewhere or whatever. You want things kind of tight and not banging around and stuff. So sometimes I would use a leg tie down. Depending on the knife I was carrying, though. Most of the time, I didn't carry a big knife on a belt, and most of the time I just didn't carry them that way. So there it is. Okay, there's that one. That system, and this one belongs to Alan Neva. So, Alan, thanks for the support, brother. It's coming to you. Oh, Beachin Tactical Sling. Beachin Tactical. Okay, here it is right here. Let me show it to you. Beachin Tactical. Jacob Peterson over at the Prepper's Bunker. Beachin Tactical builds these slings for me, and this one is a multi-cam sling. So they're usually extra, right? But I gave him this one multi-cam because it matches the sheath. I'm a nice guy. What can I say? If you only knew, right? Okay. This is for someone up in Alaska, right? Alaska, the last frontier, right? Okay. Yeah, I was going to be an opera singer once. Like for about 3 seconds. There it is. Just going to show it, right? It's got our new tactical hawk light assembly on it, right? 3 different modes, right? 3 different lumens. 85 lumens is the highest. That's pretty. It's pretty bright for a small flashlight like this, right? It's pretty easy on batteries too. I mean, I use these little lights, okay? And I got my choice of 30 different small lights on the market that are really nice, and there's a reason I choose these, okay? These Phoenix E05s. Number one, they fit on the sheath systems, right? They're small enough package that they'll fit on the sheaths, right? So, but they're great little lights. I haven't broken one yet. They're waterproof. They do everything the company says they do, right? So I'm okay with it. It's a great little light. I've tried lights from like other companies, and they were either too fat or too long, or just didn't work out right. So, all right. So the Altoids tin assembly is on the front on this one. Don't usually do that, but there's a reason we did it, right? Locks in there. This is Black Raptor KYDEX, which has got that leathery look to it. Black Raptor in 095 again, right? Thicker than 093. And then on the back is the ferro rod, okay, with a Sunto compass on it. This is a Baldric rig for the new handled Silent Hero. Okay, this is the client's knife. Sent it in. And that's another thing that I like to really drive home, even with production knives. And honestly, I get this sometimes. Guys are like, well, so-and-so does it this way, so-and-so does it that way, right? I don't care. We do it like we do it here because it works for us, okay? There are differences between lots of knives, okay? So let me give you an example. This is a silent hero that was made back in, I don't know, let's say July 2016, right? Let's just say that. That's when it was made, right? Well, a lot from July 2015 is going to be different. They change from lot to lot. You know, they have to set the machines to certain parameters, but they migrate as they stamp things out, right? The controls are migrating back and forth, and it's a little, the blade's a little thicker, or it's a little longer, or whatever. The handle scales are a little thicker, a little longer from lot to lot, whatever, right? It happens. Trust me. I've been doing this almost 20 years. From lot to lot to lot, knives change. Best case scenario, send your knife in. It's really simple. It doesn't cost a lot. I'm not going to lose your knife. I've never lost a knife. Never. And I'm the type of guy, if I lose your knife, something happens to it, I will buy you a new one. Brand new. Okay? So, unless it's a Boosie, then we may have to, like, I might have to prostitute or something for that. Anyway. Okay, so this is Black Raptor and Cryptek Neptune. That's a badass combination, don't you think? I don't know how good it looks on the camera, right? But that's a badass, like, I think Midnight Johnny Rambo, right? I think that's just cool as shit, right? That's a neat combination. This client picked these colors, and now I know why, right? So, there it is. Got our nice, tough leather loop on there, waxed, oiled, everything, right? This has kind of a cracked finish, but this stuff is really strong, right? The stuff that I buy now is really strong. Baldric system in vertical or horizontal, doesn't matter. It doesn't come with a sling, okay? The client previous to this, he asked for a sling, and he paid for a sling, so he gets a sling, right? This one's just set up for Baldric carry, so the client has to get his own sling, or her own sling, right? So there it is, tactical hawk light assembly, fine diamond rod, Altoids tin assembly. You can do anything you want with these. Put anything in there, fishing kit, tinder, anything. Small flashlight, a small live fire will fit in here with some other stuff, that kind of thing. Okay, there it is. A lot of carry versatility in most of our sheaths. If you ask for certain options like a tabby dangler and a tech lock and whatever, you can even put a molly lock on these. We usually just do it as a matter of course. We set it up, right? We set up the eyelets on the plate for the diamond rod so that you can take the tech lock off and put molly locks on here if you want. Okay? Alright, so there's that one. Here's the next one. This is for a BK2, right? Becker BK2. This is our knife. The client opted because he lives in Turkey, right? Sending knives back and forth to Turkey, it's just a no-go, okay? We're not even going to do it. So he picked a couple of knives that I have that I thought would be okay, right? So his BK2 is probably very much like this one. They're pretty standard across the board, although sometimes there are issues. I've had them. Had a guy in New York one time, a lawyer in New York, bought like, I don't know, 12 of our sheath systems, and when it came to the BK2, he's like, just use yours, they're all the same. I was like, you're in New York, you should send yours, right? He didn't do it. He wouldn't do it, right? He ended up sending his back to me, right? And I had to like remold it because his was a little fatter than mine. Lot to lot to lot, okay? So, at least I think that's how it went. I could be wrong. He might have said, you know, I want to send it, and I told him no, or whatever. I don't know, okay? That was quite a while ago, a couple years ago, right? So, BK2, right? This is a tabby dangler. Got our offset there, right? So with a fat handled knife, we put a bigger offset on it on the tab, right? And trust me, this is difficult to do because we do it by hand. We don't use a mold. We don't stick the KYDEX in a mold or anything. We do all this by hand, and we pull on it, and we get it nice and perfect. And we heat it with a heat gun, and I'm telling you, it takes like a half an hour just to get that offset in there the way we want it, right? The way it has to be. And then we put the shore up plate on there, make it nice and tight, so it's not, you know, migrating and, you know, real loose or anything. It's super tight, right? So with thick handled knives, we like that offset to be a little more pronounced so that you can get your fingers in there and, you know, okay? All right, there's that one. Tactical Hawk Light in infused pattern multicam, super cam, right? Face mount ferro rod, Sunto compass, tech lock on the back. Like there's like 6 different carry configurations with this one sheath. Okay, nice Herman oak, 9 to 10 ounce leather loop, right? Oiled, waxed, the works. Okay, so there's that. This is OD green 096. Holy crap, right? 096. I measure it. Okay, so the last one. Let me look at the camera here. I tell you, I put 100-watt light bulbs while I'm doing the filming in the room here so that the lighting is better, right? So we'll see how it works. This is a little different. This is another one that's going over to Turkey, right? We're getting ready to do another one for this guy, a kukri. I think it's going to be a Becker kukri or something. I tried to talk him out of the kukri thing, but he loves kukris. So, and I know my buddy Bob, he loves kukris. I'm not a big kukri fan. Honestly, I just think they're too heavy for carrying out into the field. But some guys like them, and we do a good job at putting sheaths on them too. So, oh, I'm sorry, sheath systems. Okay, so this one's a little different. This is what we call, we don't do a lot of these because guys are like cuckoo for coconuts over danglers, right? This is a leather leg drop, a tabby leather leg drop, right? So you can see the offset we put in it, right? And your fingers are going up here, okay? So you kind of just force your fingers in there and draw the knife, okay? But the top's bob, right, with micarta scales. This is the top's bob with micarta scales. They have 2 different types. They have one with G10, one with micarta. These are thicker. So if I build one for your micarta scaled bob, your G10 scaled bob will not fit in it, okay? There are 2 different thicknesses for the scale material, okay? I guess micarta runs thicker than G10. I don't know, okay? I'm getting ready to have a big conversation with Mike Wallace about G10 and micarta, what you can get, how thick, blah 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 wah 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 wah. Yes, Mom. Wah 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 wah. Yes, Mother. Wah 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 wah. You get what I'm saying, right? Tops bob, Scandi grind, great knife, very popular. Not my style, just not my style. Although it's a nice knife, great retention. Tabby leather leg drop, okay? Different than a dangler, a lot stiffer, right? It's on your belt a lot stiffer. As far as drawing, it's no different drawing. It's just as easy to draw this as it is a dangler. But we do make them, right? We extend the plate up for the tab, right? And then we put a shore up plate right here, right? And we bolt the leather right to it, right? And we bring that offset out enough so you can get your fingers behind there, right? Okay? There it is. This is chocolate brown Raptor, that leathery look, right? Chocolate brown Raptor with our spook pattern for the accessories. the shore up plate, and the ferro rod holder. Okay, and I called these are called profiled holders. There's two reasons we profile them. They look badass, right? And it makes them lighter. So I'm all about getting these things as light as possible, but still bomb proof. Hence the thicker KYDEX. Duh, right? To me, that's a no-brainer. To me, like, you know, you're thinking to yourself, how do I make a stronger sheath? Thicker KYDEX. Right? And just because it's a little thicker doesn't mean it's that much heavier, because it's not. 1/1000th of an inch in KYDEX is much stronger. 2/1000ths, even stronger than that, right? It's like exponential type shit here, but not that much heavier. It's great, man. KYDEX is good shit. I love it. Okay, so there it is. Got a little bit of tooling on the leather dangler. I mean, leather leg drop. Okay, just let you see this real good. This is a leather leg drop. This isn't a dangler. Okay, this is a leather leg drop. Right, a little more stable. Right, doesn't flop around like a. And because we use really sturdy, thick leather loops, they're pretty damn sturdy. Okay, and they stay that way. Okay, right? It doesn't flop around like a dangler does, right? But still, you got some play in it, right? There it is. Tabby leather leg drop. Works out real well. Been testing these designs for a long time. They work great. Alright guys, that's it. I tell you, I really love this tactical hawk blade assembly that we do now with the Phoenix E05. These are just badass. Any way you slice it. You know, in cross draw, you can use it. Shines out in front of you. You just like that. Oh, yeah, there's my hat. Right? 3 o'clock in the morning. Looking for your spoon because you want some, you know, couscous or something. Oh, yeah, there's my spoon on the ground because I got my knife on me, right? And I can just, right? And then you can also take it out, turn it around, use it in dangler mode. Oh, look, yeah, there's that spoon again in the grass, right? And then you can take it out and just use it as a handheld flashlight. A lot of versatility. So I thought that was a really good thing to come up with. And our strops, okay, our strops on the underside of our holders, they're great items as well, right? If you want one, I'll put one in for you. It's easy to just strop your knife and then put the thing right back on again. Take it off, strop your knife, put it back on. You don't need a big long piece of leather to strop your knife. You just don't need it. You know, a couple inches. That's all you need. Hell, I've done it with an inch of leather, right? You just need to go up and then come back down, then up and then turn around, come back down. You don't need a long piece of leather. Yeah, it helps a little bit if it's longer, but you don't need it, right? These are field systems, right? That are just very usable, right? They work. All right, guys. That's it. It's Doug Wilson from Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I really do. I do this for you guys to see what we're doing here, right? And to promote us a little bit, right? And so please share this video if you get a chance. Just like, I know it's hard on, you know, it depends on where I post it. I'm telling you, anywhere I post this video, you can share it. You just got to figure out the way to do it. So ask your buddies who are computer savvy. That's how I had to learn. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to share this video that I just posted. How do I do it? And then like Mike McGowan's like, this is what you do, right? Doug, I can't believe you don't know this. This is what you do. You go here, you do this, you do that. And somebody will tell you how to do it, right? All it takes is like, hey, right? I know we're guys. We don't like to ask for things, like especially directions. That's a big thing with me. I'm driving, you know. I'm like, I know where I'm at. Like, hey, girl, I know where I'm at, right? I know where I'm at. 3 hours later, we're still not there, right? And she's like this, right? So just ask, right? I got to the point in my life now where if I don't know something, I find out and I ask somebody. It's just better to do it that way, right? Then you know. Alright guys, that's it. Doug Wilson, Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. See ya.